hoje um palestrante que eu acho muito interessante de Israel, que vai falar que tudo tem a ver com Startup Nation, tudo que está acontecendo com Israel nesses últimos 20 anos, que realmente são uns anos muito significantes para a economia de Israel, da tecnologia de Israel, para o crescimento do Estado de Israel. Ele vai falar em inglês, tá? Eu pedi para ele falar devagar, porque talvez não todo mundo está no mesmo nível de inglês, mas vai ter a Mariana que vai traduzir, e se precisa de alguma coisa eu vou acrescentar, tá? Antes do Gilad e do Cláudio falar, eu vou mostrar para vocês um vídeo sobre o CAMBICI-RJ, do Fundo Comunitário. Eu vou falar rapidinho, aí eu vou passar o microfone para o Cláudio, tá? Então, só resumindo rápido o CAMBICI-RJ, que se chama aqui o Fundo Comunitário, é a organização principal do Estado de Israel, que faz a arrecadação de recursos para projetos no Estado de Israel, com o objetivo de fortalecer o Estado de Israel. Então, esse aqui é o nosso trabalho. Como vocês viram, tinha alguns projetos que estão fazendo em Israel. E, no fim do vídeo, vocês viram algumas atividades que fazemos aqui na comunidade judaica aqui, tipo Marcha da Vida, Machanot, Hillel. Parte da nossa arrecadação fica aqui para apoiar a comunidade do Rio de Janeiro, atividades que têm a ver com educação judaico-sionista. Então, esse é o nosso trabalho. Então, obrigado pela sua presença e vou passar o microfone para o Cláudio.
Bom dia a todos. Sou Cláudio Goldenberg, sou presidente da Câmara de Comércio e também sou diretor do Fundo Comunitário. Eu vinha pedir há bastante tempo do Use para a gente trazer realmente uma pessoa que pudesse falar sobre Startup Nation aqui. Câmara de Comércio tem várias diretorias, são 14 no total hoje, com foco em cada área, cada segmento, com o objetivo de fazer negócios bilaterais, tanto daqui para Israel como de Israel para cá. Eu tenho feito essas diversas palestras, estou sendo convidado para falar exatamente o que o Gilad está vindo aqui para falar para a gente. Falar sobre as startups, como Israel, daquele tamanhinho, menor do que Sergipe, consegue ter o seu Startup Nation, né? Então, o assunto é de extremo interesse e a gente faz questão exatamente de poder trazer e disponibilizar isso para todos aqui. Agradeço a presença de todos. Use Fundo Comunitário, parte do staff está aqui também do Fundo Comunitário, a diretoria da Câmara, a Tali, da Adidas de Israel, está aqui presente, a Adidas Comercial de Israel, aqui no Rio de Janeiro, e todos que estão aqui presentes também agradeço a presença de todos vocês. Agora, passar a palavra para o nosso palestrante.
Obrigado. Shalom. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Uzi and Karen Ayasod, for making this possible. The Chamber of Commerce. And I want to welcome also Tali from the Israeli government, the Deputy of Economic Affairs that is based here in Israel. And I want to send my condolences to the murdered in Israel this morning in a horrible terrorist attack, and a quick recovery to the ones that are injured. And with that being said, thank you for having me. Thank you for this very, very warm welcome. I really, really appreciate the community here in Rio de Janeiro. This is my third event, and I've been accepted here as an Israeli, as Jewish, as somebody from Israel, with open arms and with a very, very warm Brazilian welcome. And I want to extend this invitation to everybody in this room. If you're ever in Israel, and my home is your home, and please, you have my contact info. You can contact me professionally, personally, on a shidduch level, whatever you want. I'd be very, very happy to help everybody. And you're my brothers and sisters, and we appreciate everything that this community is doing for Israel. We do not take it for granted. I forgot.
Agradecer a todo, ele queria agradecer a todo mundo aqui, a todas as instituições, a Câmara de Comércio, ao Fundo, a representante comercial de Israel e dar as condolências ao atentado terrorista que teve lugar hoje pela manhã e destinar para a recuperação para as vítimas, e que ele se coloca à disposição, inclusive o telefone pessoal e os contatos pessoais dele estão à disposição para quem for a Israel buscá-lo, que vai ser muito bem-vindo.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about, we cannot talk about Israel without talking about the startup nation. And today, I'm very happy to present to you a little bit about my world, or the Israeli startup ecosystem. And then we'll talk about my personal story. I'll give you a little hint. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I founded and sold a few companies. And I'm an angel investor. I invest in Israeli startups, and I'll tell you the story towards the end of the presentation. But I want you guys to be Israelis and ask me as many questions as you can during the presentation, and have chutzpah, you know? Do it.
Ele vai falar sobre a Startup Nation e sobre também a jornada pessoal dele. Ele é um empreendedor serial, né, e já teve algumas empresas e hoje em dia é um investidor anjo, e vai falar sobre essa jornada dele aqui para a gente, e vocês fiquem à vontade de serem iguais aos israelenses, que fazem muitas perguntas sempre.
I'm not sure how you translated chutzpah.
Audácia.
Oh, there's a word in Portuguese?
No,
audacity.
Audácia would be the better.
Okay. Go ahead. So we'll start off with some interesting facts, fun facts about Israel. So go ahead. I know Brazil is very similar to Israel here. Everybody's smiling. Israel, although we have a lot of problems, we are a very, very happy nation. We're the 12th happiest nation in the world. And last year, go ahead.
Que aqui o brasileiro é muito parecido com Israel, que a gente vive rindo, e que eles são a 12ª nação mais feliz do mundo.
Not only the quality of life is good in Israel, but we live the longest in the world. Our life expectancy is 82 years old, and it's expected to rise, obviously now with technology.
A qualidade de vida é maravilhosa e a taxa de mortalidade, né, a expectativa de vida uma das maiores do mundo, onde a população tem em média 82 anos, né, chega até 82 anos e tem a previsão de aumentar essa taxa no futuro.
And we also like to make a lot of babies. We have the highest amount of, I see the Israelis laughing in the back, but if you take aside the ultra-Orthodox and the Arab Israelis that usually make 2-digit number, 10 kids or so, and most of the secular Israelis that I know make 3 to 4 babies. The average is 3.1. So if you're into babies, this is the place to be as well. We're the highest in the OECD countries.
Israel também tem uma taxa de natalidade muito alta, onde, tirando os ortodoxos e os árabes, né, que tem 2 dígitos de filhos, a média é de 3,1 filhos por casal.
If you're into museums, we're the #1 in the world of museums per capita. I know that Brazil has a nice museum here, the Future Museum, but if you're into art and culture, Israel has a bunch of them. We're really into culture. This is a picture of one of my favorite museums, the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, and I urge you guys to visit it.
Israel também é muito conhecido pelos museus, né? Eles têm um museu para cada cidade, e que é ótimo lugar para quem gosta de cultura.
Israelis love sushi, and we are the 3rd in the world in consumption of sushi in the world. And by a show of hands, anybody here vegetarian or vegan?
Alguém aqui é vegetariano ou vegano?
2. Wow, that's a lot for people in Brazil. It's a waste. But Tel Aviv is also the vegan capital of the world.
Tel Aviv é a capital vegana do mundo e eles são grandes consumidores de sushi. Terceiro no mundo.
And I can tell you one of the things that I'm missing in food here is a lot of vegetables, and then Israel has a lot of very, very good produce and salads as well. We also have a sweet tooth. We're the 3rd in the world in consumption of chocolate. I see some people here are liking this. Go ahead.
Dos maiores consumidores em chocolate.
Chocolate don't happen with elite.
With elite?
Yeah.
It's not quality chocolate, we're not competing for quality, but quantity. And we also eat a lot of hummus per year. Go ahead. And we have this is the Western Wall, the holiest site for Jews all over the world. And us Jewish believe that if you put a note in there, it will be closer to God. We have about 1 million notes left.
It's local call.
I'm sorry?
It's a local
call, right? Not long distance. You're right. And we'll end with this fun fact. I don't know if anybody has been to Israel and knows this. This is called krembo. It's an Israeli dessert that you do not order in restaurants. It's a pretty cheap dessert. You buy it in a deli, in a bodega. And the national sport in Israel is to argue about how you eat it. There's 7 different ways. So if you're in Israel, go buy one, go out on the street and ask an Israeli how to eat it. Okay, great. So we started with some fun facts. Let's get down to business. Israel, we are a tiny, tiny country. We make a lot of noise, but at the end of the day, we're the 100th smallest country in the world. We are the size of New Jersey with 9.6 million people, out of which we have the ultra-Orthodox and the Arab Israelis. Our buying power is probably 6 million people, and a little less than the city of Rio de Janeiro.
Eles são o 100º menor país do mundo. Os tem aproximadamente 9,6 milhões de habitantes, que é o tamanho de Nova Jersey, e só que eles fazem muito barulho.
But we like to compare ourselves and think of ourselves as the world's second ecosystem in startups.
Eles gostam de se comparar, de se
Only second to Silicon Valley.
Sorry.
We're the first one is Silicon Valley and then Israel.
Ok. Eles se autodenominam segundo lugar de startups tecnológicas, sendo o primeiro Silicon Valley.
Okay. In Silicon Valley, there was $100 billion invested last year into startups. In Israel, there was $25 billion invested last year. Can anybody guess what the absolute number of funds of money invested into Brazilian startups last year? Now, mind you, Israel has 10 million people. Brazil has 214 million people.
Ano passado, em Silicon Valley, se investiu $1 bilhão e em Israel se investiu $25 bilhões.
Ricardo, can you guess?
500 million in Brazil, I guess.
500 million
Yes.
invested?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quantos
Million?
milhões de reais?
We're talking about billions here.
De dólares foram
From 500
investidos
to 1 billion.
em startups.
To 1 billion?
Yeah.
Does new bank account?
3? What?
Does new bank account?
No, invested, not valuation, not valuation.
Investimento.
Mostly VC venture capital funds invested into startups.
Vocês podem
Go ahead.
adivinhar quantos milhões
Less
foram
than $10 billion.
investidos?
So, almost a third of what is invested in Israel. Go ahead. In Silicon Valley, we see mostly startups that are B2C, business to consumers.
Se comparar, a gente vê muito mais startups que são feitas para business to consumers, né?
And most of the investments in Israel have to do with cybersecurity,
E a maioria dos
deep technologies,
investimentos em Israel
and
são
R&D.
feitos em cybersecurity.
Can anybody guess why that is? National defense. So the army, a lot of technology is coming out of the army, and we can talk a lot about that. But basically, Israel, although we're very, very thriving with the startups and with the technology, we are dealing with a lot of issues that are very, very unique only to Israel. Unfortunately, we have to have a very strong army. We've seen what's going on in Israel every day, including this morning. And these are technologies that we cannot buy off the shelf. This is technologies that we need to create and build ourselves. And a lot of these technologies out of the army are commercializing, and the know-how of people is staying with cyber and deep technology.
A maioria dessas tecnologias estão sendo desenvolvidas em função da defesa necessária para Israel, visto que aconteceu hoje de manhã. Essas tecnologias não podem ser compradas nas prateleiras, então elas têm que ser desenvolvidas e agora vendidas, sell to the world, right?
Yes.
E vendidas para o mundo.
So in Israel, it's the national sport to have a startup. There are 7,000 startups in Israel. On average, it comes out to one startup for every 500 person in Israel, including youth and senior citizens. So if you walk around Tel Aviv, and Ricardo, I know you have last week, and you throw a stone at somebody, they either work for a startup, they founded a startup, or they work somewhere, but they want to have their own startup. This is what Israelis do. So the entire ecosystem, the entire DNA of Israelis is to be innovative and work as a startup, because Israel is innovative as well as a country.
O ecossistema de Israel é inovativo, né? E cada 5 pessoas uma quer ser empreendedor, né? Então, se você joga uma pedra em alguém, ou ele trabalha para uma startup, ou ele é o dono de uma startup, ou ele quer abrir uma startup. É o ecossistema de Israel.
Does anybody know what a unicorn is?
Yes.
What's a unicorn?
Yes.
What is it?
This is
The best company
$1 billion.
A company worth over $1 billion US. So Silicon Valley has 220 companies. In Israel, we used to be called the startup nation. Now I call it the scale-up nation. Our dream in the past was to build a Nokia. Nokia is a telephone company that used to be very big in the 80s and 90s. Israelis did not know how to make Nokias. We used to make companies that we sold for $10 million, $20 million, $50 million. Today, go ahead. We have 92 companies worth over $1 billion.
Hoje eles têm 92 startups que valem mais de $1 bilhão.
Yes.
But the amount of people working with high tech, I heard something about 60 or 70%.
No, it's not that high. As a leader in the high tech ecosystem, we're always trying to get that number up because we, unfortunately, in Israel are starting to see two Israelis. It's not as big as it is here in Rio de Janeiro, where you see rich people and very, very poor people, but we are starting to see that the people that are in the high tech sector are getting a certain number of salaries, and the ones that are not are left behind. So there are goals to make it close to 70 and 80%. But we also have other issues that not everybody is sharing the pie. So it's mainly privileged white males that are coming out of certain army units. And we have a lot of work to do with female-run startups or minorities, Arab Israelis, ultra-Orthodox. But it's definitely a national goal for us.
Objetivo nacional é fazer com que essas techs que hoje estão muito concentradas na mão de homens brancos também sejam involucrados mulheres e outras minorias, né?
For the Haradim also.
I'm sorry?
Haradim.
Haradim ultra-Orthodox, absolutely. There are some programs that are government-run and some private organizations, and absolutely. So guessing game again, how many unicorns in the entire country of Brazil, or you called it a continent? So, yeah.
Qual era o objetivo em relação aos religiosos, né, a inclusão dos religiosos? E aí ele respondeu que, como isso está muito concentrado, existe sim um objetivo de fazer essa distribuição para as minorias, inclusive para os religiosos. E ele agora está perguntando quantos unicórnios vocês acham que existem no Brasil?
Don't Google it. Guessing. Yeah.
20.
20? There are 214 million people in Brazil. 20? 3? 7? 15? 20? You're not giving Brazil a lot of 5? Go ahead. Let's see it. There are 8 unicorns in Brazil. So I'm not saying this in order to show that Israel is better at this. Just what we are doing with the limited resources that we have, how we created this amazing ecosystem. And a lot of people, when I have these talks, ask me all over the world, is this something that can be replicated? Can we copy? Can we teach innovation? And so my answer is always the same. You can teach innovation. You can build an ecosystem. You can build, I heard about the Falafel Valley here in Rio de Janeiro, which is doing a great job, and I hope to be involved in it in some sort of way. But there's stuff that's very, very unique to Israel that cannot be copied, whether it be the Jewish mother, whether it be, the army, whether it be that we are afraid of our existence, so we have to innovate the entire time. So some of it can be copied, and some is very unique to Israel.
Perguntam para ele se existe algum método para poder ter esse número de startups unicórnios, né? E ele diz que algumas coisas são ensináveis e outras coisas não, tipo a mãe judia, o exército e o medo da própria existência que tem que ser recolocada todos os dias, né? Então, eles têm que crescer para poder sobreviver, né?
And you cannot talk about this industry without talking about money. Israel has the most money for investments in startups anywhere in the world. If you are a founder of a company, the best place in the world to be in order to fund your startup is in Israel. We're 2.5 times the US at $630 per person. And Brazil, just in comparison, is $3 per person. $3.
Israel tem maior valor em investimento para startups, né? E isso ajuda também a questão do desenvolvimento delas, sendo que no Brasil existe $3 para
Investimento por pessoa.
per person. In Israel,
630. And I know there's some people here that are investing via VCs in Israel. And so thank you for that. Go ahead.
It's something very new that we have done with Mandato. A gente, nesse ano, abriu um fundo de investimento com o mandato do Flávio Stanger, né? Todo mundo conhece o Flávio Stanger da comunidade. Então, foi a primeira vez que a gente abriu um veículo de captação nacional em reais para investimento em startups israelenses, no Fundo Maverick, onde o Gilad tem o irmão Yaron, que é um dos fundadores. I've just made a merchandise about Maverick.
Yeah. There are a lot of good funds to be invested in Israel, specifically very professional funds. We can go to the next one. How many of you guys have been to Israel? By show of hands. Wow, 90%. Wow, very impressive. So when you drive around Israel, if you don't fall asleep, look outside the window and you'll see hundreds, almost 500 companies of brands, multinationals that you all know, whether it be Intel, Facebook, Google, HP, Sony, LG, Barclays Bank. You don't need to repeat all those. And all those companies come and open their R&D, their research centers in Israel. The reason they do it is not because they're Zionists, not because they're Israeli lovers, and not because it's cheap to do business in Israel. Because all of you have been to Israel, you know that Israel is expensive. They come because it's good for business. It's good for innovation. It's good to tap the brain power. And if you're a big corporate company and you want to be competitive and stay innovative, you have to be in Israel.
Se você andar por Israel e olhar para fora das janelas e não dormir,
Sony, Facebook, Google.
Você vai ver muitas empresas multinacionais lá e elas estão lá porque se elas querem ser competitivas e ter um viés competitivo, elas precisam estar em Israel.
Research and development.
Yeah, research and development. And now all the companies in Israel are geared mostly towards the US. None of them are geared towards the Israeli tiny market. We have almost 300 Israeli companies listed in the stock exchange in NASDAQ in New York. Last year, we had $10 billion invested into startups in Israel and exits in $81 billion last year. So not only are we the startup nation, the scale-up nation, but we're also are exiting and making a lot of money in Israel and investing that money into new startups as well.
Existe também a questão de eles têm 300 empresas listadas em Nasdaq e além de ser a Startup Nation, eles também são a Scale-Up, né? Também crescendo, mas também tem muita gente que sai de Israel e ganha muito dinheiro fora.
There are a lot of reasons why that is. Number one, we have the largest university graduates in the world. Does anybody know why that is? Can anybody guess why we have the largest number of graduates in the world of universities?
We are the people of the book.
Almost right, yeah, you're right. Anybody else? The Jewish mother, you're right. The reason we have the number one percentage of university graduates is the Jewish mother. No matter who you are, what you do in Israel, you have to have a university degree. If you're 25 years old and you sold the company for $30 million and you're a millionaire, you still have to go and finish your BA because your Jewish mother is going to say, hey, you don't know what's going to happen in the future, you know, we need solid ground. That's also the reason why we have the highest percentage of people that own their homes and do not rent. You know, it's something that's in our DNA. We have to cling on to our land. You know, we feel like nothing is secure. So, you know, when people ask me about Israelis, this is how we are. On the other hand, we have a lot of people from army units. So today, yesterday, I did a tour in the favela and I saw people with machine guns. When you think about the Israeli fighter, the military guys, no longer are people with machine guns, but these are the nerds that are behind the laptop and doing stuff in countries that Israel does not have peace with. And this is also a huge, huge advantage to us because these kids, when they are 18, 20, 21 years old, are able to get skills and budget that is unlimited to literally do magic. And I'll do one more sentence and I'll let you. Me as an angel investor, when I invest in Israeli companies, if you give me two founders, one of them has 10 years engineering experience from Intel, he's 30 years old, and the other one is 21 years old with no work experience that came out of one of these army units, for example, 8200, 8100, some army intelligence units. Without a doubt, if it's the same business model, I would invest in the kids coming out of the army unit, just because they think differently, they work differently.
Israel tem o maior número de formados em universidades do mundo, né? E é por causa das mães judias, né? Não por causa de nenhuma outra causa. Que as mães judias falam, mesmo que você tenha uma companhia de 25 milhões, acabe de vender uma companhia de 25 milhões de dólares, você precisa terminar a faculdade. Outra questão é que também é o maior número de casas compradas, né, em território, porque eles estão sempre com medo do que pode acontecer. Então, isso acaba fazendo com que eles se desenvolvam. E outra coisa que ele falou é que se ele tivesse um engenheiro com 10 anos de experiência, tem 30 anos, um menino de 20 saindo de uma das unidades especiais do Exército que trabalham com tecnologia, ele não teria dúvida em que ele investiria no menino que trabalha com tecnologia saído do Exército, porque tem uma outra cabeça e uma outra forma de funcionar que os usuais, né?
These are some of the multinational corporations that are in Israel. I'm sure you know plenty of the names. Go ahead. Another advantage that Israel has is the size of Israel. And this is pretty funny. But the reason that we're so small, I think, gives us a huge advantage. It's very, very easy for us, for me as an investor or somebody in the ecosystem, to get to any company, both physically, you know, it's a 2-hour drive from Tel Aviv anywhere, and culturally. For me, it's not a problem to get a meeting with a CEO of the company.
Uma das vantagens que o Israel tem é que é pequeno, então ele consegue estar em contato com todas as startups. E outra coisa que não tem uma diferença, além da pouca distância para estar em qualquer lugar, não tem uma diferença cultural grande. Então ele pode conversar com qualquer CEO de qualquer empresa.
Israel is a country of 74 years old. This is only a few years ago. Can anybody guess where this picture is? Tani, do you know this?
Israel tem 74 anos. Alguém sabe de onde é essa?
It used to be the desert. This is Tel Aviv. This is Rothschild Boulevard, the first kiosk. And if you guys have been there in the last few years, you've seen how much it's changed. So Israel had to innovate. This is part of who we are. And we have no natural resources. You know, I traveled here now in Brazil. I saw this amazing, wonderful country and the natural resources that you guys are blessed with. And, you know, God did not bless Israel with natural resources. He blessed us with innovation and our brain power. Go ahead. And from the desert, you know, we made a forest. Go ahead.
Deus não abençoou Israel com a beleza natural e os recursos naturais que nós temos, mas abençoou com força cerebral, né? Então, eles conseguem fazer essa inovação toda e transformar o que vocês viram do deserto em uma grande floresta.
One more thing that I want to mention to you is about Israelis and dealing with Israelis, because a lot of you guys have talked to me about bringing Israeli businesses here. And let's talk a little bit about some cultural differences between Israelis and Brazilians. So number one, Brazilians are very similar to Israelis. They're very, very warm people, very friendly. I think a lot of the Israelis are too, but there are some traits that I want to teach you about Israelis.
Ele fala que a gente quer que traga os negócios israelenses para cá, mas ele vai comentar sobre alguns aspectos, né? Ele fala que, em geral, os brasileiros são muito parecidos com os israelenses, porque são muito acolhedores, né? Como os israelenses, calorosos, mas existem algumas diferenças.
We're very, very expressive. We have an opinion about everything.
A gente tem uma opinião sobre tudo, são muito expressivos.
No BS, no bullshit. We say things how they are.
Falamos as coisas como elas são, sem bullshit.
We're very, very informal. So maybe we can say, like, from Rio de Janeiro to São Paulo people wear suits. In Rio de Janeiro, it's more sandals. So Israel as well, you'll go to work, people will be with sandals, shorts. One thing that Israelis, it's very unique to Israel. We're not afraid of failure. Failure is not something that is looked upon in a bad way in Israel.
Uma coisa que é única em Israel é que eles não têm medo de falhar. The failure is something on the process. É uma coisa aceita e faz parte do processo.
When founders come to me asking for money, and they told me they built 3 companies and they all failed, I love it. It's not something that I looked in a bad way, because I know they have experience, I know they've tried it, whereas in other cultures it might seem like somebody is a loser and unable to do it.
Quando alguém chega para ele e diz que afundou três companhias, ele gosta, porque na verdade ele vê que alguém tem experiência e que aprendeu com elas.
We can go to the next one. Okay, 2 words that I want to teach you in Hebrew, which you might know. First one is chutzpah. Can everybody say chutzpah? Chutzpah. Anybody know what chutzpah is? Yeah, so chutzpah, do you know what chutzpah is? Yeah. Okay, so extreme self-confidence. Somebody will tell an Israeli, hey, can you do this and that? Even if they can't, they'll say, yes, I can do it. And then they'll figure it out a way of doing it. This is the Israeli way. And the second word I want to teach you is tachlis. Can you say tachlis? Tachlis. Give it to me straight. Do not sugarcoat it. Don't be fake polite, like maybe some Americans. Give it to me. If it's a no, it's a no. Don't give me homework to do a business plan.
Quer dizer, seja direto, não fique dando voltas, rodeios.
Yeah, very Israeli. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, so we talked about the Israeli ecosystem. Now let's hear a little bit about me and my background.
A gente falou pouco sobre Israel e seu ecossistema, agora vamos falar sobre isso.
Go ahead, you can go ahead. So I started my career in New York. I worked for corporate America for Philip Morris, a cigarette company. And then I left Philip Morris and founded my first company, which was an online staffing agency. Marketing agency.
Ele fundou a primeira companhia dele, que foi uma empresa de online, call center.
No, marketing company.
Marketing, uma empresa de marketing.
You can go to the next one. Okay. Click again. And then I sold my company and moved back to Israel.
Vendeu e mudou-se de volta.
And this was the first company that I sold. I moved back to Israel and had some money in my pocket, but had no job.
Ele se mudou para Israel, mas não tinha, tinha dinheiro no bolso, mas não tinha emprego.
I was very, very young. I was in my late 20s, already exited a company. But I knew that I didn't want to sit home or play beach volleyball. Play here, right?
Ele estava nos 20 e tantos, mas ele sabia que ele não queria ficar em casa ou jogar vôlei na
Beach
praia.
volleyball. So I subleased an office space on Rothschild Boulevard, and I did not have a job. So every morning I would buy, you guys are my age, so remember newspapers, right? Real newspapers. I would buy a newspaper and I would go to this coffee shop on Rothschild Boulevard. Maybe you remember Café Leber.
E todo dia de manhã ele comprava um jornal e ele ia para esse café pela manhã que ele fazia de escritório dele.
And one day I went there and saw these two guys that were sitting there and working on their laptop. And they were very, very socially awkward.
E um dia ele estava nesse café e ele viu esses dois meninos trabalhando no laptop e eles eram muito esquisitos socialmente.
And I came in the afternoon for my afternoon coffee, and I saw the same two guys with the same cup of coffee. They didn't have money for a cup of coffee, for a second cup of
Ele
coffee.
voltou de tarde e aí ele viu os mesmos dois meninos com a mesma xícara de café porque eles não tinham dinheiro para comprar café.
And this is back in 2008 when it wasn't popular to sit in like Starbucks and work on your laptop.
Isso foi em 2008 quando era popular sentar no Starbucks e trabalhar no laptop.
Every day I would come there and I saw the same two guys. And one day I figured, you know what? They have such passion. They're working on something. They're not getting their eyes off the laptop. I need to talk to them.
E aí ele percebeu que eles eram tão apaixonados que eles não tiravam os olhos do laptop que ele falou assim, eu tenho que entender o que eles estão fazendo.
And they spoke Hebrew and I spoke Hebrew and they explained to me what they're doing, but 90% of what they're saying was Chinese to me.
E eles falavam israelense e ele também falava israelense e 90% do que eles estavam falando parecia chinês para ele.
But from my 5-minute talk to them, I understood a few things.
Mas de 5 minutos de conversa ele entendeu algumas coisas.
That they had a lot of passion about what they're working on,
Eles tinham muita paixão no que eles estavam trabalhando,
but they're very, very bad in marketing,
mas eles eram horrorosos.
sales,
Vendas,
talking to investors,
falar com investidores,
business development,
desenvolvimento de
and
negócios
investor relations.
e investimento em relações com investidores.
Everything that I'm good at.
Era bom.
So I figured there is an opportunity there.
Então,
So,
entendeu que tinha uma oportunidade.
I asked them if I can buy them coffee the next day.
Ele perguntou se ele podia comprar
And
um café para ele.
of course they said yes.
Claro que eles disseram sim.
And I brought my geek friends, my technology friends with me.
Ele trouxe os nerds com ele
And they explained to me what they were doing.
e eles explicaram o que eles estavam fazendo.
And I decided this is going to be an amazing opportunity.
Eles decidiram que ia ser uma grande.
And I put together a group with my brother and other investors.
Ele juntou grupo com o irmão e outros investidores
And we called ourselves the Tel Aviv Angel Group.
que se chamaram Tel Aviv.
Maybe the first one.
And there were angel investors, but yeah, we're one of the first ones. We're very, very lucky. We got in an early time with low valuations. And we invested $1 million in this company.
Eles foram os primeiros investidores anjos.
$1 million.
E investiram $1 milhão nessa companhia.
But go ahead on the next one. It ended up to be the first Israeli company sold to Google
A primeira empresa israelense a ser
back in 2010.
em 2010.
And after that, every founder in Israel that wanted money came to us.
E depois disso, todos os fundadores que queriam dinheiro
So we did what's called spray and pray. We invested a lot of money or little money in a lot of companies, and we prayed that it was going to succeed. But I'm not a huge believer in only praying. I'm a believer in hard work.
Eles espalharam muito dinheiro ou pouco dinheiro entre empresas e rezavam para que desse certo, mas ele não é muito de rezar só.
And we were able to take companies that are very, very rough, very technology,
E aí eles conseguiram empresas sólidas com tecnologia,
do the marketing, sales, business development, and sell them on the next round of financing, sell our equity in the next round of financing.
fizeram
Obrigado.
processo de relações com investidores e vendas e tal, e aí conseguiram vender no seguinte passo.
Then I figured that I want to be an entrepreneur founder again, and I founded another company called Chat Vibes. You see that the logo is very similar to, if you go back, you can see the same logo almost.
Depois ele decidiu ser fundador de uma nova empresa, que é essa
Chat Vibes.
Chat
The first
Vibes.
video chat inside Facebook,
A primeira vídeo chat dentro do Facebook.
and we sold that company within 1 year minus 1 day.
E eles venderam essa companhia em 364 dias.
Go to the next one. And then after selling that company, again, I didn't want to stay at home, and I founded another company.
Depois de vender essa companhia, ele também não queria ficar em casa e fundou essa nova companhia.
I raised a lot of money for it,
Ele levantou muito
and it
dinheiro.
failed miserably.
Ele fell miserably.
Failed.
Ele falhou miseravelmente.
And today, I run the UAE, Israel Innovation Office. So,
E hoje ele
UAE, United Arab Emirates.
Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
E hoje ele gerencia o escritório de inovação da
So,
Arábia, né?
Yeah.
Dos árabes.
2 years ago, Israel signed, 2 years ago to the date almost, Israel signed normalization agreement with a few countries, Bahrain, UAE, and Morocco. And
Há 2 anos atrás ele assinou tratado de cooperação entre
Abraham's Accord, correct?
Marrocos, Emirados Árabes e Bahrein.
And I run the innovation office where we sell Israeli technologies to that part of the world.
E ele gerencia o escritório que vende a tecnologia de Israel para essas partes do mundo.
But off the record, this is important, off the record, we also sell Israeli technologies to countries in that region
Também vendem tecnologia de Israel nos países daquela região.
that Israel does not have peace with or agreements with.
Israel não tem
Yeah.
acordos de paz.
And I think peace and prosperity is brought by people, by business people, by the leaders of the community, of the business world. And I see this as one of my missions in life, to promote Israel and promote peace and promote business with Israel and other places all over the world.
Ele fala que paz e prosperidade com as pessoas, né, e não com os governos, não com os países, e que ele vende paz para essas nações, esses empresários. essas
I wanna-
pessoas.
I want to thank you for this opportunity
Queria agradecer por essa oportunidade
and let you know that you have a friend in Israel
e deixar vocês saberem que vocês têm Israel.
on business, pleasure, personal.
Em negócios, em prazer e pessoalmente.
Perfect. So questions? My contact, anybody can contact me on LinkedIn or by email or by Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I'm everywhere.
Bella.
In favela, yeah.
Motorcycle. You
I,
have a new
I
taxi.
I took a picture yesterday and he can't stop saying, yeah. Yes, you had a question? No.
I have one.
Yes, hi.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your name again?
Yeah. the new business is something, there are institutional Israeli bureau, or is a private?
It's a
Israeli?
private organization, but probably 50 to 60% of what I do has nothing to do with business. You know, I feel that I'm acting somewhere as an ambassador of goodwill when I travel there, showcase Israel, showcase what an Israeli looks like. And a lot of the times I go there and I come back and I talk to government officials and tell them what's going on. I do it on my own time. And of course, there's business to be done there, but business is taking a long time to be done there. You have to, Israelis are very much like Americans. They come in, they want to do business right away. There, tranquila, they need to know who you are. They need to.
Where in the Emirates?
In the Emirates, yeah.
Que lá nos Emirados Árabes eles são muito tranquilos, eles demoram a tomar as decisões.
Taking this chance, is there any official government doing the same?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a consulate there. We have an embassy there. Last year, trade was $900 million. It's going to increase to $3 to $5 billion in the next few years. There's a lot of people, a lot of Israelis going there, and it's opening a whole new world for Israel and a wonderful
A
opportunity.
pergunta foi se o governo também está acompanhando essas iniciativas deles, que são privados, e ele falou que sim, que existem consulados, embaixadas lá e que eles estão acompanhando.
So one more thing, Ricardo was in a delegation last week in Israel, or 2 weeks ago, and I've met you. And right after I met you, I took the delegation to a company called Watergen.
Yeah.
Watergen is a company that makes water out of air. And I know this company is also selling to United Arab Emirates. So that's one example. Yeah.
Dos exemplos foi uma empresa que transforma ar em água e que também está sendo vendida, produzindo para os Emirados Árabes.
So complete. You feel some anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist in the views, in the people
I feel
conversation.
more safe and more Jewish in Dubai and Abu Dhabi than any city in Europe.
Ele se sente mais
100%.
em Abu
Yeah.
Dhabi e em Dubai do que em qualquer cidade. I can understand that. In
You
Europe,
can?
because
You
yes,
understand?
I can. I lived in Spain for 10 years,
Yeah.
and they don't
Free
understand
Palestine.
somebody that is not Catholic there.
Yeah.
It's just it's something that doesn't exist there.
Just so you know, Abu Dhabi and Dubai is the only place in the world where the Jewish population outside of Israel is growing. So in Rio de Janeiro, in Paris, in Buenos Aires, the Jewish population is going down. People are marrying outside. I know it's a problem that in this community you're facing. And they're building synagogues, they're building Jewish schools. It's growing. It's unbelievable to see in an Arab and a Muslim country, a Jewish population grow and flourish.
It has always been there.
It's always been there.
Left center,
And
that the hate
yeah,
took, grabbed the Arab civilization. But if you look at our past, we have been very good.
absolutely. They're very tolerant.
Que o lugar
very
onde
tolerant.
mais está se crescendo a comunidade judaica são Dubai e esses países muçulmanos.
Many people, yeah.
E que aqui no
sorry?
Brasil, por exemplo, América,
Jewish
já existe uma mistura. Né?
Hundreds.
But isn't that because the religions are very, very different and very, very, because here it's like, well, Catholic, it's nearby, so it's okay, we can accommodate, and there you cannot accommodate. Isn't there?
United Arab Emirates is very different. Only 10% of the population is local.
Mhm,
The rest is immigrants.
mhm.
Indians and Pakistanis, a lot of Europeans for the top managements. So it's a real culture of diversity, and they accept everyone. They accept us. Not only they accept us I went to the last month. I led a delegation, and this is again off the record, please, of 80 very, very rich Jewish people to the United Arab Emirates. We got an official tour in the Grand Mosque in Hebrew. You know, they took us to places that were not allowed for foreigners. And the way that they talked about our enemies, Iran, Palestinians, other countries, much, much more radical than what Israelis talked about them. That they really have, they're really our brothers with the same enemies, the same conflicts that with the same dilemmas that we have as well.
Que ele foi com grupo de pessoas muito ricas de Israel mês passado e que levaram eles a lugares que normalmente não se pode visitar e que ele entendeu que eles têm uma sensação de comunidade muito forte lá. They have a very, very strong community sense on where is it? Was it in Dubai?
Yes.
In Dubai.
Okay. Hi. What's your name?
Fabio,
Fabio. Hi. Shalom.
is Qatar local part of the peacemaking project?
No. Qatar has no normalization agreement with us. And Israel has a lot of problems with Qatar. The money towards Hamas goes from Qatar. And for the first time, Israelis were allowed to enter Qatar for the World Game. This was a condition of FIFA, but it's not something that Israel sees as a changing point. And we don't see it as a clue of what's going to happen. It's very, very specific only to the gates.
Qatar não é aliado de Israel, né? Eles financiam Hamas. Então, a FIFA, uma exigência da FIFA que Israel que fosse aos jogos da Copa, mas eles não têm muita relação. Can I ask you something?
Sure.
About the selling products that your company
Technologies
the
mainly.
technologies. Are there any products that Israel may wouldn't like you to sell, or do they put some censure?
Israel
yes.
does? Okay, so it's very, very black and white.
Okay.
You can sell any product, any technology that you want. If it has to do with security and defense products, there's a very clear system in Israel that you go through the office of, Tani, you probably know better than I do, Sibat, I don't know the translation. Come up here.
Come up here, Tani. Befasha.
She's more authorized to talk about government stuff than I do.
Que ele não possa vender sem autorização de Israel.
So there are two. Hello, everybody.
Tali is the deputy of economy.
I'm the economic council of Israel to Rio, Brazil. I'm part of the Israeli embassy, but I'm located here in Rio de Janeiro. So as per your question, there are things that are checked if we sell to a country as a country, and this is something that Sibat is an office by the Office of the Defense of Israel that can check and can only be allowed by them. But there are other things such as cyber that is more being used by civilians also, but also there is. It's not particularly strategic, but it could be attack and everything. And a company cannot sell to certain countries unless they go through a certain procedure inside the Ministry of Economy that is called like a dual use of the thing.
Okay. Tem alguns produtos que eles têm que passar pelo Ministério da Economia, Comércio, para entender se eles podem vender para alguns países. Alguns não são autorizados a vender para outros países.
I would like to take the chance for having you here. It's like a lot to understand how we from the Palestra Valley, the Brazil-Israel Chamber, can increase the amount of negotiations we can do with Israel, because our balance is around 2 billion with Israel, much less just nearby. We're doing
How much?
$2 billion. And what do you think, and what kind of areas you think we can receive them better?
Well, I think that really the opportunities are endless. There is a lot of complementary things between Brazil and Israel. Israel is a country, as Gilad presented, that has a lot of technology. Brazil is a country that wants to scale up and have the abilities to implement it. So I think that there is a lot of openness in many fields because the opportunities in Israel are really wide. A lot of companies already operate here. You mentioned Watergen, that also is in Brazil and working here in Brazil, and many others. So I think that almost in every field and every sector, we have the ability to create this engagement and to have more businesses.
Do you have any material as how to do business in Israel that you can facilitate to our associates?
We usually do it the other way around, how to do business in Brazil for the Israel.
Yeah, but it's nice, remember, to have the both. We are preparing this material here, how to do business in Brazil. So if you have the how to do business in Israel, it would be great. So we can exchange with people who look for us in order to international or national.
Maybe I can answer this. It's mainly one way. Israel does not consume a lot. So for us to consume, obviously technologies wouldn't be, the brightest thing to sell to Israel, but also products, because we're very tiny countries. I think what Ricardo and what this office is doing and taking Israeli technologies and maybe thinking about being the gateway to Latin America, coming to an Israeli company that has sales offices in North America and Europe and saying, hey, we're going to open this market for you. And then companies are going to say, we're not interested. We don't want to waste our resources on Brazil. We say, you know what, I have the resources here. Give me the rights to market your product and take it from there. I think this might be the right way to
do it. I would also
it.
like to take the chance because we have just arrived from Israel, invited by Web Accessibility. Digital Accessibility is a company that has already 10,000 clients around the world, and they were operating with Zara, Decathlon, Coca-Cola, companies that we have in Brazil. And when I accessed their website, I say, why don't you have an Web that you have this technology, but why not in Brazil? And well, me and Marcelo, my partner, is over here. We took almost 1 year dealing with their lawyers. 1 year with the lawyers. So and we were received so warmly by the CEO, like we were family. Marcelo.
And after 1 year dealing with the lawyers, we went there 2 years after that, and the CEO was not even aware of a contract. And he said, just shake my hand, and that's what.
The lawyer was a barrier. The lawyer's work was a barrier for us. That's what they do.
I think you have to blame Brazil because this has the largest amount of lawyers per capita here, right? I think you guys, you figured that.
Take the lawyers out.
Well, that's not a government job, I think, but you're right. If you go to it's very not Israeli, because usually Israelis, even big companies, act as startups and they go and they move fast. So, and specifically smaller countries that are more hungry and want to sell more places. So I believe it, but I don't think it's typical. I think smaller companies would be much hungrier for business here. And with the natural resources that you have here, with the technologies we have in Israel, I'm coming out of this trip, very optimistic about you guys being able to bring Israeli technologies there. Yes.
Business question. You said about Brazilian unicorns. We just have 8.
Yeah.
And every time you talk about unicorns, you talk go global. But Brazil, you just said like 10 times today, that has a huge market that should be better explored. Should Brazilian unicorns or sustainable companies be focusing more Brazilian markets and not trying to go global because it's too expensive? What's your opinion about that?
So number one, I don't think it's expensive today to start a company. I just read an article. When I started a company, back 20 years ago, was the average cost of starting a startup was $500,000. Today, to start a startup, can you guess how much it costs? $2,000. So there's no barriers of entry. And I have an Israeli state of mind. I think global. You know, I think every Israeli thinks global. I think here where you're Brazil, it's different. You know, this market, it's a big enough market. I think there's a lot of opportunities here. You know, I drive around here and my mind doesn't stop. You know, there's so much stuff that can be improved here, whether it be, you know, with security, with technology, with the natural resources that you have. So people always tell me there's no more opportunities. You know, we reached a plateau in technology. You know, a lot of conflicts, recession, COVID, this is where you get opportunities, and this is where the good entrepreneurs found. So, you know, I'm not sure what the right answer is. There's opportunities always for local consumption, Latin American consumption, and worldwide.
A pergunta dele foi se ele acha que as companhias brasileiras deviam ir no sentido global ou de consumo interno. E ele disse que ele olha aqui, ele sai pela rua e olha tantas oportunidades, né, em termos de segurança, ecossistemas e enfim, que ele não sabe dizer ao certo se ele iria global ou consumo interno, mas que ele vê muitas oportunidades aqui de qualquer forma.
Yes. What's your name? Yeah.
I would like to ask you something different,
Sure.
not about technology, not about
Sure.
startup,
Anything.
about the other way around, not selling from Israel to the world, but Israel is now seeing a huge aliyah.
Aliyah.
And there is opportunities of real estate there, no?
Real estate?
Real estate, yes.
I'm not an expert in real estate. I can tell you that prices in Israel have gone up tremendously. Israel elections have always been around one thing and one thing only: security. In the last few years, and the cost of living in Israel has increased dramatically, and the cost of real estate and for young couples to buy real estate has been one of the highest in the world, number of salaries. So opportunities in buying real estate.
Building series, like
Yeah.
Ben Shemesh.
Ben Shemesh.
My daughter is building there. Yes, Spain, here. The Americans are building series.
Yeah. I think it's
bringing Brazilian investors, Jewish investors to build another city there. It's not a business to do.
It is. I think it's. If you're talking only business, I think there is better opportunities worldwide. If you're mixing it with a place in Israel, stuff that is not business related, absolutely. I bought a place in Israel. It's my home. It's a Jewish home. It has something to do more than business. It worked out very well because we buy real estate in Israel, it increases. But yeah, diversify. If it's a part of a bigger pool of money, then absolutely, I will check it out.
Ele perguntou se não é com aliar, né, que muita gente fazendo aliar, não era um bom negócio investir em real estate lá, né, imobiliário. Ele disse que os preços em Israel ultimamente têm sido muito altos, né, um dos mais altos do mundo, e que existem melhores negócios para fazer do que investir em imobiliário lá, a não ser que você tenha outros objetivos ou tenha um pool, né, de investimento que tenha esse objetivo. Alguma outra pergunta?
Guys, thank you so much. And thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was hard to follow.
Não.